Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yes, that's right, on Real Radio 92.1, 101.7. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Florida Talk Real Estate. We take you every Saturday morning for 2 hours of infotainment. That's right, 9 until 11. Lots of information, hopefully some entertainment, and you along with the ride here for another big bonanza. Of course, 92.1, 101.7, those are great entry points. You can also be joining us right now via your free download, your iHeartRadio app. That makes us worldwide. And of course, we go live streaming on Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. Good morning, everybody joining us out the gates. YouTube, you can stream us there as well. Florida Talk Real Estate LLC on YouTube. We go live stream every Saturday morning as well. Remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is the .com. And that's your one-stop real estate shop. We'll give you plenty of those details as we make our way through the next couple of hours. But let's start off by getting some introductions here on a Saturday morning for our starting lineup. Of course, I'm your boy Johnny C, air traffic control. It is nice to be able to see if you're streaming with us. You can see on one of the squares there and hear very shortly from Jarrett Perry, great friend of the show. Perry and Group PCA, of course, and Player Performance First has been very busy as we have been drafting in the NFL, and I'm sure he is just completely buried and coming up for air with us on a Saturday. Jarrett, nice to see you, my friend. Welcome. Okay, wait, no audio.
No audio, Jarrett. No audio.
Be muted. Maybe not.
Okay, well, Jarrett. Jarrett's getting his technical difficulties going on. Jarrett, anything?
He got some technical issues. We'll work through that. But if you're streaming, you can see him. You are hearing the melodious tones of my guy Jimmy D. That's Jim DePola. I always tell you he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Well, that's the Florida Home Pros, y'all. Jimmy D, how you be?
It's been quite a morning. Mike called up at the last minute and said he can't do the show at the very last minute. We have record high mortgage rates. I want to talk to him about that. Ross couldn't make it today. Insurance industry just crumbling. He can't come on. Jarrett, his link to our show was in junk, and now I can't get him on the phone. So it's just been a great morning. Couldn't log into my Facebook page for like 35 minutes to try to get us live on Facebook. So it's just been a little crazy today.
Oh, well, at least it's consistent, which is
exactly right.
Yeah.
You go off for a week and it feels like you've been gone away for like ever. You know what I mean?
I do know. Yes.
So,
I think many people nodding their head right now in agreement. We've all been down that path before.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to Jarrett. He's gone. I hope he comes back because it's going to be a little rough to fill the show. Everything I was going to talk about disappeared. Okay. So we are going to talk about whether people show up or not. We are going to talk about a couple of things. The first thing I guess I want to talk about is last week's show. So I couldn't do the show. Hey, good morning, Susan. Susan's watching us, I think, on YouTube right now. So, hey, Susan. Susan's one of our favorite customers. She just bought a home with us earlier, about 6 months ago or so. So, hey, Susan. And by the way, Johnny, a guy named Robert B., I'll tell you off air, said to say hello. He's like a big fan of yours. And he said to say hello. And he said he wants to talk to you. So I'll tell you off air.
Well, hey, Robert.
One of the things that we did last week, because unexpectedly I couldn't do the show, was I had to pick a rerun. So the rerun I picked was November 20th, Johnny. I don't know if you caught that. I'm sure you didn't. But we picked the November 20th show. Do you have any idea why I picked that show from so long ago?
I'm guessing there was probably some predictive moments on that show talking about future for interest rates or
yes, that's exactly. Boy, you know me too well. That's exactly. Okay, Jarrett's saying his mic isn't working. Okay, just keep trying, Jarrett. So what happened was that's exactly what happened, Johnny. Is that was my Swami show. kind of predicting what was going to happen specifically with interest rates coming in 2022. And so just to set where we were at that point, the Fed was saying, hey, beginning next year, we're going to start raising the Fed reserve rates. So get prepared, because that's what we're going to do, because we need to slow down inflation. That's what they kept saying. So, but they were also saying, but don't worry about it. It's not really going to affect, your day-to-day life too much. This is more of an internal thing. Don't look behind the curtain kind of thing. Right. And then the economists, the national economists, then, have a field day predicting what the interest rates will be for things like credit cards and cars and credit cards, like short-term and long-term loans.
Sure.
That. So this is what everybody was saying in November. Yeah, we're going to have like 3 or 4 hikes. They're going to be a quarter point each. Not too big of a deal. And we're expecting by the end of the year, we'll be at 3. The great majority, like 80% of the economists, predicted that our 30-year mortgage rate would be 3.7 by the end of the year. Right.
Push bordering 4%, right? By the end of this year.
End of this year, 2022. And the doomsdayers, the ones that everybody said, oh, you're so off. I can't believe you're such a negative Nanny about this whole thing. They were predicting 4.4. Okay. And I was saying in November, say bye-bye to just 5, right? That at 5, we're going to be in worse shape than we are now. I think, Jarrett, we can hear Jarrett. Jarrett, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. There's a little bit of a delay. So we're going to pause when we talk to you, Jarrett, for the delay. But just getting back to what we were talking about. So I was saying that we would be at 5 so fast it would make our head swim. And I had proof, and I showed 2018 as the proof on that show. And the reason why I based my information was the Fed started raising the rates at a quarter point back in 2018. And if not mistaken, I think they raised it over 10 times at that point. And we got up to about 2.25% to 2.5% for the Fed reserve rate. We were at 0 at that point. And we had the fastest mortgage rate increase in the history of the United States during that beginning of that period. We went from roughly 3% to 5% in 6 weeks.
Wow.
So I was like, what do you think's going to happen this time that's different? Why would you think that isn't going to happen this time? And that was my argument in November.
Sure.
So now we started raising the rates this past week. Powell raised it a 0.5 point instead of a quarter point. We haven't done that since the year 2000. Just to put it in that perspective, we were in the .com bubble back then.
In the year 2000.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the last time we had a 0.5 point hike in the Fed reserve rate in one shot. So now we're doing it again. So we went from 5.10 a week, according to the Freddie Mac rate. We were at 5.10 a week ago Thursday. And then this Thursday, we came out with the report at 5.27. And if you go back 3 weeks, we were at 5.0. So we went up 0.27 in 3 weeks. But since January 1st, we started at 3.11 and we're at 5.27. So we're up 2.16 or whatever, if my math is correct, 2.16 since January 1st. And I don't see the end.
I'm really starting to feel the difference in my inflation effects out there, right? Mm-hmm. You sense the sarcasm?
I know.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's fun to veil it in the idea of we're trying to slow inflation, but it's not working. So what's next?
Well, the problem that they have this time that they couldn't do last time. So the last time they went through this, Alan Greenspan was the Fed Reserve guy. I'm so wonky, right? And when Alan tried to do this, when Mr. Greenspan tried to do this, my good buddy Al, when he was trying to do this, what he was trying to do was choke off inflation. But we also had what was called stagflation back then, right? Stagflation, which is prices being high and our general our GDP, gross domestic product, is production is low. So we have low production and high prices, right? And employment isn't actually high during stagflation necessarily, but the people that are working 2, 3, 4 jobs because they're not making much money in each of the jobs they're doing. Okay, sounds a little similar to today's economy for a lot of people. But so the difference is this time is the unemployment. We had much higher unemployment back in the late 70s, early 80s when they tried to choke off the inflation. And what they did is they raised the Fed reserve rate so high that it raised all the interest rates, and people were paying 18% to 21% for a 30-year mortgage back then. And that's how they choked off the inflation. Everything got so expensive.
It's crazy.
That people just shut down, and then we had a reset and then a rebuild. Well, the problem that they're having this time, as Johnny was mentioning and Jarrett was agreeing with, is that this time we have super chronically low unemployment with rising wages. Now, I'm a big rising wages guy, okay? The wages aren't raising as high as the inflation rate, but compared to the last, let's say, 10 years, wages are raising super high compared to before. We used to get like quarter point increase in wage rate. Now we're looking at 5.5% last quarter, 5.5% in wages increasing. So because of that, people have more money. So so if gas is, $4.69 a gallon, they're going to pay it. Right? Some people are going to slow down on it, but most people are just going to pay it. If their vacation's more expensive, heck, I just went through COVID and had to stay in my house for 18 months. I'm paying it, right? So until that happens, until we see a slowdown in consumer spending, which is the whole point of these rising interest rates anyway, I agree with you guys. It isn't really affecting us right now, but there is going to be a point. There's going to be interest rates rise to a certain point where it is going to turn things around. I'm not saying that that's a good way of doing it. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen.
There's a lot of stimulus money still too from all these loans, the government loans and the government money. I know they just announced yesterday, I think, that the EIDL program for the small businesses is full now, or they're out of money, or they're not granting any more loans through that program. So I think that's going to dry a lot of it up now too. And these business owners realize that they can't dip into these government pools for money to get just whenever they want it. It's been kind of a free for all lately. There's been the personal stim for business owners. There's been the amendments for the payroll tax returns. There's been the EIDL. There's been the PPP, and then there's also been the economic impact payments. So I think people are forgetting about all that in the mix too. So a lot of extra.
Jarrett, you had mentioned to me when you were talking to all the business owners that are coming through for tax season, how many of them were still very reliant upon the government subsidies that they were getting to keep their businesses going. But they weren't really recognizing that. Like they weren't realizing that's what was really keeping them afloat.
Right.
I found that to be very interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of them that may have operated at a loss or a small profit last year and the year before, but they're not spending that way because they have the cash flow from these loans and these things, so they think they're making a lot more money than they actually make, and they're not thinking.
Is that through higher wages that they're paying, or is that more of a personal irresponsibility aspect?
These are we're talking small business owners that, maybe they have a partner, it's just them, that have a couple employees that are, getting these loans. And then, instead of using it to hire employees, a lot of them are distributing the money, which you're not supposed to do, and then using it personally to pay for improvements to their house, a car, a new boat, whatever it is. So there's a lot of that going on. They can't really regulate it too well. And, they get hit with some tax on their tax return. It'll catch up with them at some point to some degree, but they haven't realized it yet, most of them.
So it fits the Charge It Nation kind of mentality that we have in country of ours.
I feel like they just think they just keep getting, there's going to be another loan if they need it, or, something else out there. Cause it's been like that for like the past 2 years almost, it's always been, oh, there's another program or grant or for these business owners that they can get, and everyone's been taking advantage of it because they don't know what's going to happen, but they're not saving the money.
Right.
For what's not going to happen.
For what's not going to happen. We got Jarrett Perry joining us on this Saturday. Good opportunity to speak with him toll free at 877-927-6969. Perry Group CPA and, of course, PPF. That's Player Performance First. You got that on Jarrett's shirt and Jimmy D as well. Jim DePola with the Florida Home Pros team. That's one of the top producing Keller Williams teams. Again, toll free. Jimothy will line you up. If you want to make that call, we will take that call. 877-927-6969. Always remember, if you're not comfortable on air, I understand. I'm still not comfortable on the radio myself. Just go to floridatalkrealestate.com. Your one-stop real estate shop. Find the whole team at floridatalkrealestate.com.
Hey, Johnny, do you feel like a drink or something? Now that Jarrett walked away, you could see all his liquor in the cabinet. What do you want a shot of?
I'm definitely salivating every time you turn. I look behind him. I'm like, I bet that once it hits your lips, it's just so good.
And it's funny.
I hear you guys, man. I hear you guys.
And it's funny. He's not even a heavy drinker or anything like that. That's
you got to keep it stopped.
There'll be some consumption this weekend.
Yeah, and a little bit later today, we are going to talk just a little bit about Player Performance First, which is why I'm representing the shirt today, is because we had some good news for a couple of the players for Players Performance First. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that just a little bit. But next week, if everything goes well, we're going to have one of the players that got picked up by the Green Bay Packers. That was Akil Byers. Really excited to talk to him about that. And hopefully we're going to get Paul, which is one of the NFL agents that work with Jarrett, and have him on the show. And maybe if Ross is on, he might like it because Paul's an FSU guy. And and maybe we should have Mike on then too, because he's not an FSU guy.
Yeah, Paul was actually a national championship alumni. He was on the national championship team, which is pretty cool.
That's right, with Jimbo Fisher. He's got the ring.
Oh, nice.
He was a walk-on to Florida State and play. Got to play and ended up getting a ring with the national. Played with Jameis Winston that year. It's awesome.
Nice. So, what have you got? Any crab legs?
I know.
Still throwing out the crab legs, Joe. Huh?
Go Gators.
So we're looking forward to next week and having all them on. We're hoping technically we can make it all happen. But getting back just to wrap up with the interest rates, since Mike isn't here today, I did want to talk about it because it is real news. Couple of things that you should know about that, just to give you an idea of perspective. The mortgage rates have not been this high, 5.27, since 2009. Okay. The other thing you need to know is 5.27 is not the rate that the great majority of people are going to get. This is what Freddie Mac is using for people that have 20% down payments and very, very good credit scores with low debt to income ratio. That's who's getting the 5.27, and they're still paying almost a point in fees, right? So it's very common right now for people getting loans, especially first-time home buyers, to be in the sixes right now with the PMI and everything included, right? Thrown in. Sure. They're in the sixes.
What was the last time it was like that, Jim? How long ago? Do you remember?
Probably right about the time that we got on the air. Oh no, I'm sorry. 5.27. I apologize. Thank you, Jarrett. Was 2009. Wow. Which was right at the beginning of the crash, right? Like the total meltdown of the crash. We already had our bubble burst down here, but nationally, that's pretty much 2008, 2009. Wow. And back then, 5.25% interest rate in 2009. That wasn't a bad interest rate. That was okay. People were paying much more than 5.25% back then.
But 5.25% at, when you're buying a home that's, had all the value just like sucked out of it. It's a totally different beast than 5.25%, 6%, where you're like, wow, I don't know if I'm buying at the like super peak right now or not. Like the equity in these homes, the values that these sellers are getting is unbelievable. So that's a really different dynamic when you apply that percentage versus
Yeah.
the interest rate versus what you're buying at.
Well, there's some truth to that, Johnny, but it's also that might be more a perception than full reality
Well,
because you
price
could
is
make
out.
the argument. You could make the argument like when people in your cycle when they bought the house in your cycle and they were paying what they were paying back then. Um, the amount of appreciation you got from that time until today is pretty dramatic.
Oh, sure, but it has nothing
And
to do
even if you
with
knock,
your interest rate, though. I
but
mean,
even if you knock 10 to 15% of the value off, you still like people that bought in 2012, 2013, they still did very good, even if there's a correction that knocks 10 to 15% off the peak value.
oh, sure,
I,
yeah. I don't know if you exactly heard what I was saying. I'm just
Yeah.
oh,
talking
I'm sorry.
about the comparison, the dichotomy between getting a 5% loan then
Mhm.
versus 5% loan now is a huge. You probably can't afford the home now versus you then, right? So if I,
Yeah.
I'll use me an example. What I bought my home at with my PMI, we
Mhm.
were good. That right now at this, I'm
Couldn't get it.
probably not qualified.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, yes.
Totally different beast.
And
Yeah.
also, there's less. I think you were saying too, John. You feel like you're paying a higher interest. Maybe I didn't hear you right, but you're paying a higher interest rate, and you don't know if the home's at top value and going to appreciate, or you feel like everyone now is paying so much. Is there really equity in it at that interest rate? That's kind of what I heard. I don't know if I.
And I'm a believer that when 2022 shakes out, you're still going to see, equity being built into homes. Even people that are buying, late last year, I think they're
Yeah.
going to have probably substantial amount of equity built into their home when the year is over. I don't think we're going to see those 14, 17% numbers like we did last year or the year before, but I think 6% is very doable.
As long as there's no inventory, it's. I mean,
That's the thing, guys. Is
prices have to go up.
True.
the bottom line is the inventory, and the big issue with that is that how many buyers have to walk away and just say I'm out
None.
before that 1.2 months of inventory that we have basically throughout South Florida, because that's all we got is about 1 month of inventory.
Jarrett said none, and I agree with him wholeheartedly because
Well-
the corporations. Well, I read an article just a few days ago that some massive conglomeration bought like 87 homes that bought a whole neighborhood up like near Orlando, and they're like, "Yeah, we just bought this whole neighborhood," and that's going to exist whether I'm in the market to buy a home, my neighbors they're still going to be gobbling up those properties. So I just don't see how that changes.
Yeah, but the inventory is the inventory, and you have to use numbers, or it's just then whatever you think is real or not. So you have to use some kind of base. I'm not saying it's the exact number, but it shows you trending, whether we're going up, down, sideways. So we have basically 1 month of inventory right now, and even if 50% of our buyers walk away, right? Say I'm just not buying a house, I refuse to or can't. Okay. What will that 1 month inventory change to? Will it change to 2 months of inventory, 2.5 months, 1.5 months? That's all, even any of those numbers I just threw out are all super low because 6 months is normal.
Well, you're pretty
Right?
good at the predictor game because you've seen the cycles, you've evolved with every move through the market. But this feels like to me, the only easy answer is, well, now you're just going to get 25 offers for a home versus 57.
Well, there's some truth to that, except we're starting to see more price reductions. Okay, we're starting to see that already happening. We're seeing price reductions a lot more. Okay, we're seeing a lot more back on markets. Okay,
For less than desirable homes. I mean, are these really desirable homes? I struggle to believe that.
when you saying, well, there's always going to be the super hot homes. Okay, if your house is like totally on point, right? It's totally been upgraded. Let's say you have an older home. Let's say you're in a 1990s neighborhood, but you had a 2018 full renovation of the house, right? and you have everything in there, including impact windows when everybody else got steel shutters, and you've got brand new kitchen, brand new flooring, brand new paint, your AC's good, your roof's excellent, all that. Yes, everybody's going to flock to that because there's value there. Okay. Then you're going to have the other end of the spectrum where the houses are pretty beat up, need a lot of work, and people don't have the stomach to deal with that, plus pay the high interest rates and everything else that's going on right now. They don't see the value.
I think 6 months ago, even 4 months ago, they had the stomach for that. But as everything just incrementally keeps getting more and more expensive, I think they hit a threshold where they're like, yeah, I don't have the appetite for that anymore because I know the cost and I can't lock in. Even if you think you can, like, buy a house, you better have your contractor ready to go. They better have time. Like, they got to put you on the calendar immediately. Otherwise, your carry cost to get this stuff done is going to be a year plus.
Yeah.
There's certain price ranges, I feel like, Jim, because I mean, you would know better than me, but I've sat down with people that are, selling their houses for $1 million plus, and that price market seems absolutely crazy right now.
Well, actually, it's the opposite, Jarrett. There just came out a report yesterday that, see what I mean by perception's reality. They just came out with a report yesterday. Where did I read it? It was one of the local papers. I don't know if it was the Herald or not, but they just did a full research. And what they found out is homes, luxury homes, which are defined in South Florida, $1 million or up. Okay. Luxury homes, the market has been flat for 3 quarters, 9 months. Okay. Why? The people that wanted to buy have already bought. And there's still a lack of inventory even for those homes. So the lack of inventory is hurting. But we've been about 1,800 to 2,000 homes sold $1 million and up in South Florida for the last 3 quarters. Now, the high point was 2,400 or something like that, which was way back in June of last year. But since June of last year, almost a year ago, we've been flat, completely flat.
It's surprising to hear that. I had 2 clients this week that had either neighbors or themselves that had either just bought a house and then somebody else came and offered them a very substantial amount of money more to buy the same house because they were involved in the, trying to buy the house with a price war or whatever. And they offered them $1 million more in one situation. The other one was over $1 million more on a couple $1 million house to get it afterwards.
Well, that's the inventory stuff. So it isn't necessarily that the prices are going down, it's that the sales have slowed down, and part of it is a function of the inventory.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So there just isn't enough for everybody to buy that wants to buy at that point. So So what I think is happening in Florida, and I've been living down here since 1974. Okay. So I've seen a lot of Florida. I remember when catfish used to walk across the street to go from one canal to the other. Remember that, Johnny?
I think it still happens.
No.
You don't remember that?
I wasn't here in 1974. I wasn't on Earth yet.
You should see them out on Palm. I think they're out there, aren't they?
I haven't seen one since I was a kid. That's why I always bring that up. Because when you talk about walking catfish, everybody's like, "What? What are you talking about?" Right?
They have them out in Loxahatchee still, for sure.
So, but I've been down here since 74, and I think this is what's happening to Florida. And I think it's something that we've never seen before, ever. Okay, then, well, I shouldn't say ever, because maybe in the 50s and 60s, right after World War I, maybe we had an influx like this. We're having what I call the northern invasion, and I don't really mean just north. Okay, I mean from all parts of the country. And they're all congregating in the same 3 states. Jarrett knows it because he tells all his athletes where to go. What are the 3 states, Jarrett?
I would say it's Florida, Texas, and Tennessee.
And why? Tell us why.
There's no state income taxes.
No state income tax. That's what's happening to Florida right now, guys. And if you're not up to speed with this, you're going to get run over in your decisions. Because what's happening is people are moving down here for the taxes and the sunshine, right? And
the freedom,
and they're buying
the freedom. Yeah, well,
because there's no state income taxes
and no state income tax, right? So they're coming down here. Plus, we have strong homesteading laws to protect your castle, right? So if you ever get in any kind of financial trouble, it's very hard for you to become homeless in Florida. Yeah. So the thing is people are coming down here for those reasons. And what we think the value of these houses are not what they think they are. And that's what's going to set the agenda, because they're going to be setting the agenda. Plus, I agree with Johnny, this whole institutional purchases are like, I think they're 1/6 to 1/4 of all the sales right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And yeah, like 0.15 to 0.25 of all the sales. And the other thing is, in Canada, they just passed a law in Canada just like a couple weeks ago. No foreign buyers are allowed to buy Canadian property right now. Nobody from out of the country can buy property in Canada, period.
That is a huge move for their citizens.
They just did it. I was reading, my mouth drop. Can you imagine that happening in Florida? That's never going to happen in Florida.
It's so great for Floridians, though.
I know, but it won't happen.
When have we ever elected officials that care about Floridians?
Yeah, I heard something about, I don't know where the statistic came from yesterday, about some percentage of the top 1% in New York or New Jersey moving to Florida. So
let's talk about that right now. Wait, do we have time? Let's go ahead and take the 9:30 break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the northern invasion. I got some stats, Jarrett.
Perfect.
Okay, cool.
Stats ready
what a
to go.
Segue. I'm pitching them to you. There you go.
There you go. Softballs.
I didn't get the script, but man, thanks for sharing, guys. Jarrett Perry joins us on this Saturday. Of course, Jim DePola. That's Jarrett Perry with Perry Group CPA. And Player Performance First, y'all, PPF. I'm sure we'll talk about some of the really exciting times for a few of his athletes in the stable with PPF. We have plenty of time on a Saturday. You're always welcome to join us. Toll free at 877-927-6969. You have access to Jimmy D with the Florida Home Pros, Keller Williams' top producing team, or one of the top producing Keller Williams teams throughout South Florida. And of course, if you're not comfortable on air, that's fine. But if you are, dial 877-927-6969. Jim with you will line you up. If you're not, always remember your one-stop real estate shop. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Find us on Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate. We go streaming live every Saturday for the show. YouTube, a ton of videos, chunk videos with a ton of information to consume. You find it all, Florida Talk Real Estate, LLC, on YouTube. And, of course, the radio, your iHeart app. It's a beautiful thing. You can be a part of the show, and thank you very much for making us a part of your weekend. Every Saturday, we're back 1, 2, 3, count them up, 4 minutes from now. Quick break. Back at it with more infotainment on a Saturday with Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
What's a Real Radio podcast? It's Real Radio on demand. Find your favorite show at realradio921.com.
This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
Despite losing to the 76ers in Game 3 of their playoff series, Miami's Jimmy Butler took a shot at Philadelphia's Joel Embiid's mask that he wore during the game on social media. The Heat are up in the series 2-1. The Miami Hurricanes baseball team took the series opener against North Dakota State in a dominant shutout win. And thanks to a strong start in the first 2 innings at the plate, Florida takes the first game of their series against Mississippi State. I'm JD Haffron.
Download the DraftKings app and use code SPORTS to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
You're listening to Real Radio 92.1, and we are an iHeart radio station. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
That's it. Toll free, 877-927-6969. You dial it right now. Jimothy's going to answer it, and he will line you up with your question, comment, concern in the world of real estate and so much more. You make that call, we'll take that call. Thank you very much for being with us and listening on whether 92.1 or 101.7 throughout South Florida. Thank you very much. With your free download, your iHeart Radio app that makes us worldwide. Thanks for tuning in. And for those of us joining on Facebook this morning, thank you very much for finding your way to our live stream. That's Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. We also live stream on the YouTube channel. That's Florida Talk Real Estate LLC on YouTube. Johnny C, well, that's me. Hello and good morning to Jarrett Perry, one of my favorite dudes. Always great to have him with us. I know he's been super busy with not only Perry Group CPA, but PPF, Player Performance First. That's that one-stop shop that is a sports agency that Jarrett has built over the last handful of years. Nice to have you with us on a Saturday, Jarrett. Nice to see you, my friend.
Good to be here, man. It's good to have some time on the weekend. I'm excited about these next couple months, and I'm glad to be on the show.
Yeah, on a Mom's Day weekend too, and
happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there for sure. I wanted to make it a point to make sure
I knew you were going to show up for the moms, all the moms out there. Happy that Jarrett's with us, and Jimmy D's with us just about every time we crack the mics. You know, I can lean on my guy Jimmy D. He is a rock star when it comes to making this radio on a Saturday, and a rock star when it comes to being your real estate agent. That's Jim DePola with the Florida Home Pros team. I always tell you he runs the top producing Keller Williams team. It's true. It's the Florida Home Pros team. You are muted. And good morning to you.
He's just a rock star, Johnny.
He is. He's a rock star.
Yeah.
Rock star.
He doesn't know how to turn on the mic.
The rock stars have people to do that for him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, I got a guy. So, happy South Florida, everybody. And we got a lot to talk about. We're going to go right into the stats because Jarrett was leaving off on the last segment. And by the way, I'm sorry. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. And Mom, I love you and can't wait to see you tomorrow. So happy Mother's Day. I forgot I was on mute. But what I wanted to talk about were the numbers about the people, what I call the Northern Invasion, the new Northern Invasion. Yeah. But it isn't just the North. A lot of it's coming from California and other parts of the country. But we always think of New Yorkers moving down here to Florida. Well, it's not actually wrong. There was a report that just came out from WPTV where the analysis shows that there were 61,000 New Yorkers who changed their driver's license permanently to Florida from New York last year. So
The sixth borough.
61,000. Yep, the sixth borough. And number 2 was New Jersey with 32,000 people that changed their license to Florida. So there's 100,000 people right there that moved to Florida from just those 2 states. And that's not surprising. And they're moving down here for a bunch of reasons. A lot of the people came down here during COVID when everything was shut down as a break from what they were dealing with in their state. And then they came down, and according to the article on WPTV, and I don't think this is very uncommon, the people came down here and then they fell in love with it and they started house hunting, and then they found out how everything is relatively inexpensive down here compared to where they lived. And they decided, heck, let's move down here. Now, economists are saying that's overall a good thing for Florida because it gives job opportunities and new income streams and things like that coming into the state. So that's always a good thing for business. Politically, some people are worried that we're going to become, quote, too liberal, that we might turn back into a purple or even a blue state from all these northerners, these liberal northern elites coming down here. But I'm not so sure about that, because I think the ones that are coming down here, at least the people I'm meeting, they're telling me that one of the main reasons they're moving here are tax breaks and also freedom. Like Johnny was saying, freedom, right? Like the freedom guys, right? That just don't want to deal with being told what to do. So
welcome to Florida, though.
I know, exactly.
We're going to tell you what to do.
Oh, I know,
at
right?
every turn. Yes, freedom.
I know there's an inconsistency there, but that's the perception they have of Florida, is that we're kind of a wild, wild west state, kind of like Texas. So it'll be interesting to see how it's going to change over time. But this just gets me back to the interest rates and rising costs and everything. As more and more people, if that trend continues and more people from other areas that live in super expensive areas compared to us are moving down here, and they're finding out our property taxes are cheaper, that we have no state income tax, that our protections for homesteading are excellent. And once that happens,
a lot of that's from the people not being able to, finding out they can work remotely and not having to be able to work at the office building in New York or Chicago or wherever, and them saying, why am I sitting out here in the freezing cold when I could be in Florida paying no state income taxes in the sun? I feel like a lot of it's a combination of those factors where they're like, I don't have to be here anymore. They're not requiring that I have to be here, so I'm out of here. I didn't want to be here anyways. I was here for my job.
It's so true. It's so true. So I think that this trend is probably going to continue. I don't know if it's ever going to completely stop unless, and this is getting back to the, how prices are going to change, correct. The only way that I see that that's going to happen is if we have unemployment. And I'm not saying I want unemployment, but if we had unemployment and people couldn't afford to pay their mortgage, that's when we're going to have more inventory, because I don't see the inventory changing anyway other than that. It's going to be people can't make their payments and we go through a foreclosure cycle. I'm not talking about like the one we had in 2009 necessarily, but I don't even know why we would have unemployment right now. There's nothing to really indicate high unemployment coming through.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
I got a question for you about it, Jim. So how many of these houses being bought are people buying short-term investment rental properties to, rent them out at high dollar amounts and for short periods, like Airbnbs and things like that? Because I know I have a lot of clients, buying investment properties in the past year that have bought anywhere from 3 or 4 to 10 to 15 of them, and so that's got to make up a big part of it. So I always wonder what happens if there's some type of travel restriction again to all these people that are taking out loans for these short-term rental properties.
Yeah, so there's two things to say about that. Okay, so in my opinion, I was talking to a bunch of Airbnbers I know. They've got 4 to 6 properties, and I talk to them a lot to see how they're doing, because they've only been doing it, let's say, 2 to 4 years. The couple of people I'm thinking about.
Like most
When
people.
you talk about, I was thinking the same thing. If we go through a severe recession, less people are going to be able to afford to go on vacations and things like that. And if that happens, how strong is the Airbnb market going to be at that point? Are we going
Or
to see
travel, any type of travel ban, like COVID again. Yeah.
Right. Well, with the travel ban, COVID didn't really it did affect the Airbnb market. And I'm using Airbnb for vacation rental by owner and all those types of things. It's a short-term rental. But the bottom line is the Airbnbers, the market grew during COVID, which nobody expected. Everybody expected that industry to go down. It went up. Now, my Airbnbers say if the market changes and we do have a severe recession or travel bans, that the Airbnbers are going to do better off overall than because they're going to have Airbnb competes with the hotels by being cheaper already. They're already cheaper than hotels. So if we go through a recession and people still want to go on vacation, the idea is they're going to come to my unit because it's going to be cheaper than going down to that big swanky hotel somewhere else. So they think they might have a little insulation there.
I think it's before we got into COVID, the amount of people that had a property like that, I would love to see a statistic on how many people there was that had a short-term rental property before COVID, and like how many people there are now that have short-term rentals, or multiple of them, or how many of them, just because I feel like there's just like a huge abundance of them now. So
that's
that type of change.
That's where I think the bubble's going to be, guys. If there is a bubble, and I use bubble very loosely here, okay? But I think the big bubble is going to, if we have a bubble, unless we have some kind of crisis that we don't know about that causes massive unemployment or shut down the economy again, if we're just talking about normal economic circumstances, I think our bubble is going to be the insurance industry. Okay. The insurance rates are getting so high right now that if you own a second property or a third property or fourth property and fifth property, right, and you're basing everything on your current costs, and your interest and your insurance rates go up 50%, 60%, 70%, 100%, which is happening in some places right now, that the amount of money you're making off of the properties might not be what you were hoping for. So this is my big tip. I've told you that I predicted in November that the interest rates were going to be where we are right now. I told you that in November. If you had listened to me in November and you were a buyer, you'd be thanking me right now, because you probably got locked in at 3.75 or lower. And, you're very happy with the houses that you purchased. I'm looking at a list of people here right now. Patrick, hey, Patrick, I'm sorry, the insurance guy isn't here. But Pat, we helped sell his house, but when he bought his house at the time he did, he's doing excellent compared to today's market. Susan, she's so happy that she bought her first home right before this market was changing dramatically, and she locked in super low interest rates, and she got a house she wanted.
Oh yeah, her dog Hudson's pretty happy too, because he gets bones.
That's true. They got the shade
at the right rate. He don't get no bones.
Yep, and the shade tree, right?
Yeah,
and the shade tree that hangs out every day. And then we have Deanna and Roberto, and with them, they bought, and we just went and did a video. We haven't finished yet. We did a video, and it was awesome, but we haven't finished with it yet. We're going to show it, but they're so happy to come in. I'm sorry. Do we have a caller coming in, Jimothy? I'm sorry. I'm not sure if we do or not.
We do. Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That's what that
okay.
telephone looking thing I gave you was. You want to say hi to
Oh, I
Hillary?
didn't even see that, Johnny. I'm sorry. Yes, let's do that.
877-927-6969. That is our toll-free number. Hillary has dialed it this morning. Jimothy's lined her up. She's now on Florida Talk Real Estate on a Saturday. Good morning, Hillary. Welcome. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Johnny, I still love you.
Oh, much love back.
I have a serious question that my mother passed away just 60 days ago.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was not able to go and change everything that we were intending to change. The house is now in probate. Her house is a modular home.
Mm-hmm.
We've had, I can't even tell you how many people that have walked through here for her house. But what happens when a house, I know nothing of your industry. So when the house goes into probate, how long is it going to be before we can consummate or meeting of the minds a deal with whomever it is that wants to purchase?
Sure, Hillary. So this is Jim, and I am a realtor with Keller Williams Realty, right? I own the Florida Home Pros team. So I just want to state that I'm not an attorney and I don't want to give legal advice on the air, but we can get you to attorneys that have answers for you. But I can just talk in general of watching many, many other people in your situation going through what they do and at least give you some ideas of questions to ask and maybe what to expect. So the first thing that popped into my head when you said you were, quote, going through probate, unquote, is sometimes you don't need to go through a full probate. It depends on how much assets your mother had at the time of her passing. Now, I don't remember the total amount.
Simple.
I'm
it's
sorry?
Totally paid.
I'm sorry?
The house and the property. The house and the property is totally paid.
Yeah, that's not what probate's for. They take all your assets and they give all the creditors a chance to report to the courts that there's claims, against your mother, so that they can figure out how to use the assets to pay off those creditors. And that's why, a lot of people try to avoid, because that process can get, I'm not an attorney either, so I'm not here to give legal advice. We all got to put that disclaimer on it. But, so I think, and that's why a lot of the planning is to avoid that process. So I don't know if there's a certain time frame. It's the people having to settle the sides, right, Jim?
Right. So if there's assets under a certain amount, you can do what's called a summary probate. And a summary probate can happen very quickly. It could take weeks, right? As opposed a regular probate could take almost 18 months sometimes. It depends how complicated it is and other issues. So the first thing, so the first thing is an attorney can tell you whether you could do the shortened version of probate or if you have to go through the full probate process. Also, sometimes you're able to sell the property during the probate before it's concluded, as long as the judges okays it. And then the proceeds of the sale of the money goes into some kind of account, like an escrow account, and it's held there even though the house is sold. And then the money's held there until the probate is settled up, and then the proceeds are dispersed after that. So there are a bunch of different ways, Hillary, to go through this. I'm so sorry for your loss. I lost my father a year ago last month, so I understand, what you're going through. It's very, very, very tough. We can get you free consultation with the law office of Paola Krasker, if you would like. They specialize in probate, especially related to real estate and estate sales. So we can get you over there if you would like. All we need to do is if you could tell Jimothy your number, and I'll make sure that we reach out to you on Monday, and then we can get you over for the free consultation. Okay. Please, if you can, also leave Jimothy your email besides your phone number so that on Monday I can jump on everything right away for you.
Okay.
How good, Hillary?
He has my number. I'll make sure he has the email also.
Okay, excellent, Hillary. And like I said, I'm so sorry for your loss. In any way we can help you, we'll try.
Yeah, and I know it's tough losing mom, but I know you are a mom as well. So I hope you have a nice Mother's Day, regardless of your loss there, Hillary.
Johnny, you are the reason why my youngest son adores you, because of the stories you told about, you know who we're talking about, jumping out of the window.
Yeah, well, young impressionable minds definitely fall for some of the more idiots on the radio from time to time, and I think your son fell for one of the biggest idiots
He's
for
not
sure.
an idiot. He's working in Manhattan now, but you raised him.
Yeah, no, he fell for the biggest idiot on the radio, and he's not an idiot. He's overcome the impression that I dropped on him. But we thank you very much for tuning in. Sorry for your loss, and we'll see if we can be a big help moving forward for you.
I think a talk with Paul would probably the attorneys over there would give her a lot of comfort just to know he can give them some deadlines and things like that. So
Absolutely. And that's a good example right there. Thank you again, Hillary, and happy Mother's Day. A good example of the resources. That is your one-stop real estate shop, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That is your go-to for all things. Hillary's got a probate situation. We can handle that. The team here is a team of pros, and they're assembled for one reason and one reason only, to give you access to a multitude of professionals, and they all work well together. And I mean seamlessly together, and they can get everything done from probate situations, buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do. And even with, Jarrett's reach too, man, from the CPA aspect, maybe you're a up and coming athlete. We can lock you in with PPF, y'all. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We make magic all the time, but it all starts by you going to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
I just want to wrap up this segment with right before we took Hillary's call. So here's my little tip for landlords, okay? There are so many people out there that I talk to that own a second property. It might be a condo, especially condos, okay? Or single family home or townhome. And you sit down and you go over how much money they're getting from the monthly income, and then you figure out what their mortgage payment is if they have one, and then their HOA fee or condo fee and any other costs that they have related to it. And they're making like $100 to maybe $300 a month off of the unit. So a lot of those landlords are just like, hey, my mortgage is being paid. I'm paying down equity without me pulling money out of my pocket. And on top of it, my condo or house has been appreciating over time. So this is a great thing. It's like very passive. I don't really have to do a lot.
No taxes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, and no taxes typically from the depreciation and everything. So it's cash flowing a few $100 a month, but the depreciation wipes that out. So there's no other
no really big hit. But here's the thing, guys. I've never been a big believer in creating a rental property where you're making $100 to $300 a month, because your AC blows and you blew a whole year, maybe a year and a half of your profit just to put in a new AC. It's kind of, to me, that's not being a real investor in a way. I'm being honest with you, okay? But some people do it and do very well. But this is a cycle right now, just like I was telling you in November. This is the cycle. If you're one of those people making $100 to $300 a month on your rental unit, you got to really seriously consider it, maybe taking the equity out of the house now by selling it, and then finding another property that could be a better money generator over the long run. Why am I saying that? Especially condo owners. I'm talking to condo rental owners right now, okay? Especially is the insurance costs for your condo are very, very shaky right now. There was a big report. There were two big reports that came out last week. First about condo insurance in Florida, and the second was just about homeowners insurance for anybody in the state of Florida. And we're going to talk about that on the next segment. But if you're a landlord and you're only making a little bit of money every month, these insurance rates could be the reason that you end up starting to have negative profit on your condo, and that could happen. And you don't want to do that. So let's talk about that on the flip side.
Yeah, that sounds like a worst case scenario by far. So pretty important information coming at you here shortly. And this is real important as well. Write it down. Remember it. Share it. You can change lives. by sending someone to floridatalkrealestate.com. Or maybe you have a need. Reach out. Information is free to attain, and you're going to realize that, wow, this team is amazing. I get why I listen. They're really awesome. And you can have that experience. Go to floridatalkrealestate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. You'll have access to the entire team. You'll find the hotline there, 888-973-7828. You can call it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, answered by a live body. And again, you'll find that hotline, floridatalkrealestate.com. Of course, we have plenty of time left on the radio here on a Saturday, another hour for you, 2 hours of infotainment. And if you'd like to be a part of it, we got a 4-minute break and we get back at it. You can pick up your phone right now, dial 877-927-6969. Jimothy will warm you up, get you going, and we'll get you on the air with your question, comment, concern in the world of real estate and so much more. Great to have you with us every Saturday. We're back 4 minutes from now. It is Florida Talk Real Estate, and it is Real Radio.
Tell your smart device to play Real Radio 92.1 on iHeartRadio. Go on, tell it. Show that damn thing who's boss.
From the Gordon and Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm meteorologist Lauren Oleski for CBS 12 News. It's going to be a hot one for us today with temperatures in the low 90s for the highs. Skies are partly cloudy to mostly sunny with scattered showers and thunderstorms moving through as a front boundary pushes in. Could see frequent strikes of lightning and heavy downpours. Still near 90 degrees again for the day on Sunday.
This report is sponsored by the Florida Department of Transportation. In Florida, bicycles are considered human-powered vehicles. When riding on the road, you are required to obey the same traffic laws as motorists. Drivers, always watch for bicyclists, and when passing, move over and share the road responsibly. Alert today, alive tomorrow.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because FloridaTalkRealEstate.com has you covered. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
This is WCCR FM, West Palm Beach, Real Radio 92.1, powered by the law offices of Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Been in an accident? Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
There it is, toll free, 877-927-6969. That's Jimothy.
Has you covered. That's Florida Talk Real Estate. 6969. That's
Thank you very much for.
Sorry about that.
Whatever that was. I appreciate you killing that down. Johnny C, that's me. I'm the guy that still tastes tequila from Thursday night. Remarkable. Sitting there during the break going, that's tequila.
I hope it was Silver Patron, my favorite.
Still tastes tequila.
Was that a good night?
It was, you know what? It was low key, is what it was. Jarrett Perry's with us. Perry Group CPA. It was low key, but it was tequila filled.
Got it. I haven't had any of those low key tequila filled nights. Mine are normally up key when it's tequila.
Well, if you stay home, and you don't bring other heads in, it ends up being pretty low key. Wifey made some amazing enchiladas, so we just did it the noble way, you know. Jarrett Perry with us, of course. Jimmy D's here too, y'all. That's Jim DePola. Always tell you, he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. That team, the Florida Home Pros, y'all. Jimmy D, how you be?
Hey, I'm doing great, Johnny. How are you doing today?
Well,
for the tequila part.
The tequila part, but excellent. Thank you for asking.
Hey, okay, so the condo stuff. Let's talk about this insurance stuff in general. Okay, there were two big things that happened last week that made my mouth drop for real. I was like, wow, holy moly, that this is going on. Number one, okay, is this is getting kind of wonky, so follow with me here a little bit, okay? There's a ratings agency for insurance companies. I forget what the name of the company is because I don't have the article in front of me. And they are recommending, and they put out this anonymously written report, like op-ed opinion, asking the reinsurance companies to no longer back any type of Florida residential homeowners policy until the state legislature comes in for an emergency session and fixes the insurance industry down here. And they're trying to get it done before June 1st, which is the official start of the hurricane season. Okay, that is a big deal, guys, because what people don't know is the reinsurance industry is probably one of the top 3 industries in the whole country. Jarrett, tell me if I'm wrong about this. I might be wrong. I don't think so. Like, let's say top 5 industries. So you have the military industrial complex, right? And reinsurance is right up there with that kind of institutions. They back everything, right? They own tons of stuff. They just back everything. They're like this quiet. You ever talk about those? You ever have those conspiracy theory nuts about different groups like controlling the world? Yeah. Reinsurance would be up there. Okay, yeah. Reinsurance companies would be up there. They set everything. Now, insurance companies rely on reinsurance companies that if they can't cover their nut, the reinsurance company comes in and takes care of whatever they can't afford. So the reinsurance is insurance for insurance companies. That's what reinsurance.
Government. It's a government thing. Where's the money?
It's private. It's private, and it's really a super trillions of dollar industry. Not even billions, trillions. Okay, so for the rating agency to tell the reinsurance agency in a public op-ed opinion, hey, why don't you stop insuring Florida insurance policies until they get their act together, is a pretty scary situation. And number two that came out of the article that was made my jaw drop, apparently there's an A rating for insurance companies, and then there's the next lowest level is called an S rating. Okay, S I think is either stable or substantial. I can't remember.
I came up with two other words, but
me too. I thought so too. So A rating, when you have an A-rated insurance policy or A-rated insurance company, you're getting an insurance policy that's quote A-rated. Well, what that means is that it can be used for insurance for FHA and VA and all government-backed conforming loans. But if you have an S rating on your insurance policy, you can't use FHA, you can't use VA, you can't get a conforming loan, government conforming loan, because those loan companies require you to have an A-rated policy. Okay, I just learned this in the articles. So right now, this company is saying that there are 7 companies right now that they're ready to change from an A rating in Florida, an A rating to an S rating, which means we already are talking to Ross Kamarinitz from Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach, the only Brightway insurance office.
Right?
He's always said he's talked about how many insurance companies have fled the state or went bankrupt and collapsed. Okay, now this rating company says that the ones that are existing, 7 of them are going to get its ratings changed from an A to an S. So what does that mean? If you have a government conforming loan and your company is no longer, your insurance company is no longer an A rating, it's an S rating, your lender might come back to you and say, you're not conforming. You need to go get another insurance policy. And then you got to find an A rated insurance company to keep your loan.
Yeah.
And who knows how much that's going to cost.
Keep your loan. I mean, won't they just force place them at some point? I mean, how do they bail on the loan?
Right. Well, that could be 2 to 3 times the amount of a regular insurance policy.
Right, but how do they, when you say keep your loan, like they can literally take the loan away?
They can accelerate your mortgage. They can do what's called an accelerate your mortgage because you're not insured to the level that they wanted when you got the policy.
Yeah, that's one of the big problems with having a loan on property is a lot of the investors don't have loans, right, Jim? And they won't even carry insurance because they don't want to deal with these issues. They'd rather, try to keep it protected in some type of entity or something like that and not have to deal with the insurance costs because of what Jim's saying. And especially now with it being unexpected and can change, I mean, that could drastically kill your profit.
Exactly. Now, that's just all homeowner policies. Now, the condo insurers, listen to this article I read. This is in The Real Deal, which is like an industry insider real estate news portal. Okay. It says condo insurers exit market and hike rates after lawmakers fail to pass safety reform. Premiums have jumped 100% in some cases. Okay. Now, we're not talking about Mrs. Jones, Mr. and Mrs. Jones that are buying a condo and then they get a homeowner's condo insurance policy for their condo. We're not talking about that in this article. This article is talking about the insurance that the condo board gets for the whole building. And those premiums are going up 100%. If they can even get insurance, because a lot of these condo insurers are pulling completely out of the market, completely out. They're just like, we're not doing it. Why? We have about 1.3, this is a fun fact I learned reading all this stuff. We have 1.3 condo units in the country right now. 1.3 million condo units. 900,000 of the 1.3 are 30 years or older.
So they're kind of using the Surfside tragedy from a year ago kind of as a, I don't know, an excuse sort of in a way.
Yeah, what they're saying is, hey, look, you have no standards for these buildings. You just you had a building collapse and you guys didn't do anything in the industry to make sure that other buildings aren't going to collapse. Why are we going to insure you? Get your stuff together and then come back to us when you got a better plan.
It is interesting, though, that it wasn't a big point of contention prior to the Surfside.
I agree with that.
But
Absolutely.
after, they're like, whoa, if you don't do something about this, we're going to start pulling out.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's just more reasons. And the other thing I think that's happening with all this stuff, I know that they're saying there's a lot of fraud in Florida. And, Ross has always been very even keeled. He's not a rah industry guy, right? He'll tell you good, bad, and different, kind of like what we are. We tell you good, bad, and different all the time, right? We don't have an agenda. But the thing is that Ross does say that there is tremendous amount of fraud in Florida with the roof situation being replaced for no reason and things like that. But you know what? I also think that these insurers I think that the fraud is a big deal, no doubt about it. But we haven't had, quote, a big one in Southeast Florida in so long that I think that even it's almost like the gambler who's playing the roulette game and just playing the numbers. And they know that one day that roulette number is going to hit. Let's say the hit is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. Right. And you keep rolling it and you're hoping you don't get the hit. Yeah. Well, now we've been throwing the ball. What do you call that roulette ball, right? Roulette ball, whatever. They've been throwing the ball or whatever for like 1,000 times and it hasn't hit yet. It's got to hit soon. Yeah. And I think they're almost getting worried. It's like, well, we know it's coming.
Well, law of averages, right?
Law of averages.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm saying that the insurance company, coupled with higher interest rates, might end up being the big bubble everybody's looking for. You know what I mean? Like if you're looking for any kind of bubble-ish thing, that's what you should be looking at, is those two things converging together. The high interest rates making things less affordable from a lot of people. And then the insurance is going to catch a lot of people that own homes by surprise.
You think this is equal across all price levels, or there's some cutoff point where it doesn't affect them as much? Or do you think everyone's...
I don't know the answer to that yet. I really don't know. I don't know.
More based in age of home, right? I mean, that's probably the simplest.
I was just thinking that if you at a certain price range, people typically have other money saved up and other things like that, where they, whereas some people, the $200 or $300 a month increase will kill them, and they can't pay their mortgage anymore, So I don't know if there's a certain home price where people don't typically have, I don't know. Just was wondering what you thought.
Yeah, well, it's true. Like people on, let's say, on a fixed budget that are in a condo on a fixed budget, right? And the condo association fees go up because they have an assessment, because for whatever reason, it could be any reason, right? But let's just say it's because they have to pay a higher insurance premium,
right?
And they need to deal with that, and they got to deal with that with the whole community, right? And the person's on a fixed budget. That's a very bad situation to be in. So we are going to see. We really going to keep, anybody sharp about real estate is going to keep really a close eye on this insurance thing, because this is really turning into a real crisis. It really can. And it's already killing deals. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm has told us several times over the last couple months that insurance is killing deals.
Or people are going to close something close on their deal, right? And they may get an adjustment that'll take them over. You're saying, some people, they're going to be getting adjustments to their policies, right?
Yes, there is a guy who called us up this week. He was referred to us from a friend who listens to the show. They have an estate property, a probate property. And right before the person passed, they had done a refi on the house. And through the refi, they had to get an insurance policy with the mortgage because it was required. Well, when they got the policy and closed, but when the insurance company came out to check out the house physically, they came out with a laundry list of stuff that they want fixed, or they're going to dump the insurance. New roof. There's drywall problems in the garage. They have some electrical stuff going on. And something to do with improper use of the property. It's a 5-acre property, and apparently they're using it for some kind of commercial purpose or something on the back part of the property. And the insurance company dinged them for all of that, and they'll dump them, right? If they don't correct these things, they're going to dump them. And if they dump them and they can't get a new policy, then the mortgage company can either do what Johnny says, which is a forced place insurance. And what does forced place mean? The insurance company doesn't even talk to you about it. They just go out and get a policy to cover their butt in case something happens to that house, so that the mortgage company's covered.
And they don't care what it costs.
And they don't care what it costs at all. And they're going to charge you for that. And if it's 4 times the amount, but you could get it for 2 times the amount, they don't care. They're just going to do whatever they do. Right? So you got to be really careful about this. So keep an eye out on insurance. And if you're one of those landlords that's making $150 a month and you're just skating along, guys, this is probably going to be as good as it gets for you with that unit. What I would do is take the equity out that you made, be happy with all the profits you made, then take that money and then go find another property that you can make money on, but more than $150 a month return.
I think that's the problem right there.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, I think there's a lot of people that want to do that don't think that there is properties they can afford right now to get into. You know what I mean? Because there is no inventory. And so you're saying that there are properties that are good investments still out there, right? Like you can still find that investment property to make money on.
You can definitely find them. I mean, like Johnny said, like in Orlando, they bought a whole an investment firm, bought a whole neighborhood, basically. In a way, is what Johnny said. So they had to feel like those deals were good. And you know, all this stuff. Remember when we were talking about Zillow and how they became a home buying program? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then remember what happened? Zillow failed, and they lost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
They ended up getting an S rating.
Yes, exactly. And then not only did they stop their iBuying program, but instead of hiring realtors to sell the units, they sold them in bulk as to institutional investors.
And we're
Do you know how stupid they were about that? I just want to talk about this. I'm not going to mention the person, but we know of a person that went and bought one of those Zillow homes. So Zillow bought it for, I'm making up numbers, but they're close. Okay. Zillow buys it for $300. They put some money into it and they put the house on the market for $315. I'm just making it up. Okay. And then, or let's say $325. And then it didn't sell. And then it didn't sell. So then they sold it for $285. These numbers are almost exact, okay? And then they sold it for $285 to the person that we know. Now it's about 8 months later, 9 months later, and that house is worth $100,000 more than what the guy paid for it. Do you know how much money Zillow lost because they don't understand real estate? They just don't get real estate. They might be great at listing properties, right? They can show you on maps walkability, and you know they have beautiful maps for you to do the searches. Okay, their information isn't that exact. Okay, you can't really rely on their estimates.
It's a database,
or the square footage of the house, or whether it's 55 and over or not, or if it has membership equity. Forget about all that stuff. Okay, but it's very pretty to look at. Zillow's a pretty site to look at, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to them actually understanding the real estate market and trying to learn how to buy and sell properties, Zillow sucks with a capital S, right? And just that one deal, they probably lost $80,000. And all they had to do is hire an agent instead of taking all those homes and try to sell them institutionally. If they just held on to the house and then hired a regular agent and paid a regular real estate commission, they would have made, instead of losing hundreds of millions of dollars in their deals, they might have lost tens of millions because they bought wrong. But still, wouldn't you rather lose tens of millions than hundreds of millions?
Yeah, and I think they probably could have salvaged a return on that.
I think so too.
I don't think they would have lost had they decided to parse them out slowly and responsibly the right way by hiring an agent. I think
hire real agents.
Oh, they tried to sell them all, just opened up like, hey, we got all these houses now. You guys can buy.
No, they sold them as a portfolio, Jarrett. They didn't
Oh,
even put them
wow.
on the market one-on-one. They pulled them all together and said, who wants to buy these 50 properties in this market?
Oh, wow.
Or who
Yeah.
wants to buy these 200 in this market? And you
Yeah.
had to buy them all. So you
Yeah,
took the
that's
good, the
crazy.
bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
So they did it as an institutional sale.
I got
So
you. I missed that part. Yeah.
yeah. And they were paying above retail back then, Jarrett. They were paying more than everybody else was paying in the neighborhood because they thought they understood.
Because they were
the
going by
market.
their prices.
Yeah, they were probably using estimates, right? And then when they were failing at one point, when they realized they were failing, they are actually going into the neighborhoods where they were failing at, and then buying more homes in the neighborhood at higher prices because they were trying to skew the prices up. They were trying to skew the prices up, like control the market.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They don't know anything about real estate, man. You figure, I mean, it's really funny when you watch it. I know I'm
Are people
gloating, and
still
yes, I
coming
am.
to you and using their prices and saying, like, because I remember when a few years back it was like, hey, my Zestimate is so and so. That's what I should be getting for my house.
Yeah.
You know, and is that still happening, or
People still base things on that, unfortunately, because they don't, and I don't blame the people. They're not. Most people are buying and selling a home every 7 to 9 years.
Yeah,
so it isn't like they're doing it all the time and everything. So they don't know what's going on, and they're in there.
the starting point, I guess. For them.
Yeah. It gives them, and that's what Zillow calls his estimate now. It's a talking point.
Yeah,
they call it the talking point, right?
Yeah,
a talking
not
point.
even a starting point.
What it's a great example of, though, is that advertising works.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? The site's very pretty. It's a very pretty site. It's easy to use. Compared to the MLS, it's way easy to use. The site's prettier.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you accurate information, and it doesn't tell you what you need to know. But
the actual house information is not right either, typically.
no, a lot of times the square footage is wrong. How many bedrooms or bathrooms are wrong because they're pulling it off the county records, and the county records aren't always accurate.
Right.
Well, they might even be showing you homes that aren't even on the market anymore, and it'll be like,
yeah.
this one's active. It's like, no, that's under contract. Like,
yeah. I knew that was off with that the contracts part.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, I want to talk in the last half hour, Jarrett. Okay, I just want to talk about PPF just a little bit this week because hopefully next week, we're going to be talking hard. But I also want to talk. I have a whole bunch of questions to ask Jarrett. He's going to put his CPA cap on.
Next week?
Cap on. No, this week. As soon as we take the break. But I just wanted to give a quick shout out for the PPF stuff. So, as most people know, I'm co-owners with Jarrett and a bunch of other guys for Players Performance First. Jarrett's the founder of the company, and he created it about not even 3 years ago, I think, barely 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's built up a pretty big stable between his CPA company and the Player Performance First sports agency. He's built up a pretty big stable, if you will, of clients from all different fields and professions in the athletic field and entertainment field. But last week was especially exciting because we had two guys up for the NFL draft last week, right? Right, Jarrett?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Paul Aloisi, who's the FSU guy, who's the agent, he was the one that was the day-to-day NFL. What do you call him, Jarrett? NFL negotiator or
no?
What,
he's a NFL PA certified agent. I mean, he's a NFL licensed agent. And
NFL licensed agent.
certified,
Okay, sure. And Paul's awesome. I'm talking to him more and more. I really like that guy.
Yeah.
But so anyway, we had Akil Byers, and he ended up going as an unrestricted free agent to Green Bay, correct?
Yeah. I mean, basically, they were working deals during the draft, and there's still a good chance he could have gotten drafted, but Green Bay really liked him, and it seemed like a good fit for him. And it's not always best to get drafted. I mean, when you go as a preferred free agent, you're not locked into that same contract. So there's pros and cons about going in the draft and going as a preferred free agent. And he signed as a preferred free agent. So he was signed by the time basically the draft was over.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people lose sight of that, Jarrett. So the reality is these guys will have franchises get in touch with them and be like, look, we want you,
we're hoping we don't have to use one of our draft picks on you. And I know that feels, you're like, whoa, what do you mean? Use it. You want me. But they're like, look, if we don't have to, we're going to bring you in. And like you said, you may end up with a better deal out the gates because they want you, but they also they have their feelers out. They all talk. They know, they're like, we don't know if we have to use one of our picks, and it may benefit you more on the back end. But that's why we need, these guys need teams like you have, Jarrett, with PPF to give them an understanding, to lay the numbers out. Like that, we say the devil's in the details, but all the greatness is in the details too, right? I mean, sometimes the bad's buried in there, but all the good can be in there too. But you need to highlight it for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we were fortunate enough to, use Jim's expertise with him getting involved with KW and the sports and entertainment division. They were able to throw Antoine and Akil both draft parties, at their house where their families got together. They got them a nice Airbnb with a big pool and stuff and some catering, and got the whole family together to kind of be there for, during that time. And it was really cool. We had a good event with the guys. So, we're excited. We're still working for Antoine.
Yeah, it was so wild. It's so wild that we had two NFL draft parties, one in Arkansas with Akil, right? That's where he's based. And then we had the deal in Orlando for Antoine. So Antoine Owens was a Jackson State football player with Coach Deion Sanders. He didn't get picked up in the draft, but right now he's being looked at in two other leagues right now. Is that correct, Jarrett?
Yeah, and he's the draft, the NFL draft. I mean, I think there's still opportunity there as well. I mean, they're not done signing guys. There's guys going to be getting hurt. There's going to be a lot of opportunities during the season. So I always thought Antoine has a good opportunity of, he just needs to get a shot out there, and a lot of times they don't give you the same credit for your numbers when you play at a school like Jackson State. So it's kind of getting him to line up and get the opportunity to match up against top talent again and see where he's at. So, but yeah, he's got interest with the CFL as well. So we're trying to figure out what's best for him now and giving him credible information so that he can decide and with educated information.
How is it working with the CFL? Is the dynamic different through the NFL and the CFL, or are they just very similar, but just obviously, geographically different locations?
You mean as far as the game or which part?
I'm talking about the the negotiating side with the owners, and I know the leagues are set up differently as far as revenue. I understand the NFL is huge; it doesn't get much bigger.
Right.
But as far as your role, is it pretty similar whether you're dealing with the CFL, the AFL, the USFL, or the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the agent, but as far as I understand, when Paul's the one interacting or Joe, whoever it is, it seems like it's still, the agent has to be the intermediary and talk to the team directly for the player, and then they would negotiate the contracts. And typically the CFL doesn't really want guys that are gonna come over just to try to get tape to go back to the NFL. So that's kind of, I think, a part of the negotiating the agent really has to understand is, how to play that part of it, like, so that he can still get the guy. Because the worst thing is that you have somebody and he doesn't get any playing time at all because he sat out and held out for the NFL, or for basketball, he's holding out for the NBA instead of going overseas or something. I think that's the worst thing that you could do is not go play somewhere. So you got to at some point make a decision. All right, I didn't get picked up. I'm going to go here and play and get some tape.
Well, it's twofold, right? Experience. You don't want to be off the shelf for too long. You let a couple of years go by without playing. That's not a great look. And
that's terrible.
You're wasting opportunities for a revenue stream, right? So it may not be exactly what you want to do, but go get that experience, get that money, and the next level might be there for them.
Yeah, that's right. And just with the NFL, it's so tight because there's only one big league that pays that type of money, and there's so many people trying to get there, and even the mock drafts they have are never very accurate in terms of what's going to happen with the draft. So you never really know what the teams are thinking. You can talk to them, and that's all we can do is kind of get the best information possible, whether it's positive or negative, whatever it is. we got to be honest with the guys and let them know that this is what's going on, so they know, what their opportunity is.
Yeah, what did the Patriots drafted in the first round a guard out of Chattanooga?
Yeah,
trust me, nobody's mock draft board had that. Nobody.
Nobody. Yeah, and that threw off. That throws off the other picks going back, because it's
Sure
like
does.
Yeah. So it's always interesting to see how it shakes out, but we're still learning and we're growing, and it's been interesting. We've had a lot of learning curves, but every year we're getting better at it, and we always keep the players' best interest in mind. I know that since the beginning. So.
And also the NBA now. Now the next thing that's coming up for us is the draft for the NBA, and we already have one guy. I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name or not, Jarrett. Am we allowed to mention him?
Yeah, I mean, we're working with Keon Ellis from Alabama, in some capacity, and so that's going to be interesting. He's a definite draft pick. Whether it's late first round, early second round, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. And, we have Sam that's in the G League that he'll be playing in Summer League coming up. And hopefully he'll be moving down here, and Jim will help him find a place, hopefully soon, getting down to South Florida. And then he can, this year should be an interesting year for him. He needed a year to kind of adjust and get to playing on a team game. And it had been a few years since he had played team ball. He's been out with COVID and all this stuff. And so this year he kind of adjusted and he got COVID during the season.
Mm-hmm.
So this year will be his year to, if he has a couple good games, he'll get moved up. He's definitely got the talent.
Yeah, Sam's my boy. He's my favorite boy. I can't wait till he comes down
We've all gotten really close with Sam,
Yeah,
and it's interesting. It's a younger kid that's really good kid, and 6'8", he could win the 3-point contest. I always tell everybody this. I honestly think he could go to the NBA and win the 3-point contest and the dunk contest. Like, he literally can dunk like you've never seen and shoot like you've never seen. So it'd be cool to see him get up there and do it. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And then with Keon, he's from Eustis, Florida. So he's a Florida boy. So that's going to be really cool. Can't wait to see him in the draft. And we have a couple other things that I know Jarrett's really working on behind the scenes. Yeah, so we got other people coming up. So that'll be the next thing, is the NBA draft. Really looking forward to that. And once again, thank you, Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment Division.
Yeah,
I
that
am
was
part
awesome.
of that. Yeah, there's like 1,000 agents across the country that specialize just in sports and entertainment. We got to keep working on that, Jarrett, because eventually when I write my novel, I'm going to need I'm going to need somebody from CAA. So you're going to have to get me to a CAA guy when we get to that point.
Gotcha.
So,
and speaking of novels, not a novel, but I am coming out with another article with Sports Illustrated.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They called me and asked me last week if I wanted to do an article on the new pay schedule for the NFL players. So you know how they split their pay now. So they pay it, instead of it being done by December 31st when the season's done, they get play their last game, and they used to get their last paycheck. Now they pay them half of it by the end of the year, and the other half they get the first quarter of the following year. So they're getting more paychecks throughout the year, which I don't know if they're trying to do it to help so they have income throughout the year, I think, but I don't know if it's really going to help. I think a lot of the guys are frustrated. It complicates the tax situation, all types of problems with it that they didn't think about, of course.
So it's veiled in like a benefit. They're like, oh, we're trying to help you out. But I know I'm so cynical at heart in so many things. But I'm anxious to read this article to see how you break this down, or if you really do attack it or not. Because it might not be bad, but I feel like it might be one of those things you file under doing the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. I think that's real. I mean, I don't know what the true motives or anything were, but I know that it's complicated a lot of things that I have to deal with. And I know a lot of the players would rather have the money. So even, the ones that invest and do things like that, they don't want to delay their revenue recognition just because other people can't if the reason is other people can't manage their money. It's not fair to them.
Right.
Why do I have to wait to get paid? Right. And how the teams all treating it differently. Some are calling it deferred comp, and that makes them have to pay the Medicare tax on the pay in advance. so they don't even get the money, but they have to pay Medicare tax on it. And so that next year they won't have to pay that advance on the Medicare tax when they get it. So there's a lot of weird things that happen with it. So I'm going to try to make it simple for people to kind of break it down in the simplest way possible for the Sports Illustrated article.
Yeah, if you're if you happen to know an athlete or something and is working with anybody else other than Jarrett, let me tell you, this guy knows sports taxation like anybody. So that's why he keeps getting articles in Sports Illustrated, is because of his expertise in sports taxation. I've watched
CPA to the stars.
Yep, CPA to the stars. I've watched him save 7 figures in taxes to his athletes. 7 figures. Imagine getting a 7-figure check back from the IRS. I'm still waiting for my money, Jarrett. Right? They haven't given me my money.
What's crazy about the whole thing is that they literally give the players, when they give them their year-end package for tax reporting, most teams give them a cover letter that says on it, like, hey, we have estimated like these figures, you need to consult with a tax advisor. The actual numbers may vary, but even the accountants, everybody, they just take those numbers, plug them into their system. And that's where the problems all begin. So that's where I kind of got the detail, was I started looking at their pay stubs and figuring out how they determined how much to allocate to each state or whatever. But that's where like you said, the devil's in the detail. And that's why, I mean, you got to pay. Even regular employees should look at their pay stub. If you're not in the NFL, look at your pay stub, see what they're taking out. If you don't understand it, then you should ask. So
yeah, we know somebody that understands it very well. Go to floridatalkrealestate.com.
Right.
Jared's very busy, but we have him on speed dial.
Yeah.
floridatalkrealestate.com.
So we're just going to blow through the next 20 minutes because of the break is kind of a waste right now. So I want to get into I want to go into regular taxing stuff with real estate, Jarrett. I'm going to just ask you a few questions. We're not going to get into nitty-gritty details on stuff, but these are things that literally popped up over the last 2 weeks with some of my customers that I thought would be really good just to get some broad idea about, not specific. Okay. So we had a guy named Bob, and he went and sold his house just a little less than 2 years ago, and then moved to a new home in a different part of Florida.
Jim, I don't want to interrupt, but I think your dyslexia is kicking in a little bit. I think it's actually Bob.
I'm sorry?
I don't want to interrupt, but I think your dyslexia is kicking in a little bit. I think it's actually Bob.
Instead of Bob?
Yeah.
The other way?
Yeah.
I don't get the joke. Is it B-O-B? Is B-O-B? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The dyslexia part,
Oh, no.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to put a little bit of the attainment in the infotainment.
Sorry about that.
Failed miserably.
What do you call those words where they're the same on one side versus the other side?
Oh, that's
I can't
anagram? Anagram?
No.
Palindrome.
Palindrome.
Thank you, Jimmy. Palindrome.
Where the hell did I get anagram from?
Don't know. Palindrome.
Anyway, so Bob.
Here's a little home team trivia for you. All right. Back in the day, home team, when I was with Josh for like 6 years, Josh Cohen in the home team. Here's the longest palindrome in the history of palindromes.
Okay.
Go hang a salami. I'm a lasagna hog.
I'm a lasagna hog.
Go hang a salami. I'm a lasagna hog.
I'm a lasagna hog.
That's great.
Go hang a salami. Yeah. I'm a lasagna hog. Whether you do it forward or backward is going to say, go hang a salami. I'm a lasagna hog.
Yeah.
Did you guys figure that out?
Who came up with that one? Yeah. Who the hell figured that one out?
I think it was somebody Josh went to school with at Towson or something. It's their fraternity was wild and crazy.
How much acid were they on that day? So Bob sold a house on the east coast of Florida, moved to a different part of Florida. Less than 2 years later now, he has some health issues, him and his wife, and it would be smart for them to move back to where they originally lived because of the doctors and everything. So they need to sell. And
how long have they lived there, Jim?
They lived there about a year and a half. Excuse me. About a year and a
Bless
half.
you.
Thank you. About a year and a half is how long they lived there. So they haven't lived the full 2 years at the new home, but they really need to move back before the 2 years end. So
because of the medical reasons, or
yes, yes, because of the medical reasons. So we talked to people.
Go ahead and finish.
Okay, so we called somebody on your staff, right? We talked to Mike, right? We talked to Mike, and Mike explained to us that we might be able to do. You're not going to get the full capital gains benefit, but you might be able to prorate it, where you'll get some of the capital gains reductions, but not the full reduction, unless
I
they
think
show the hardship.
Am I breaking up?
You're breaking up a little bit, but go ahead, say it again.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can hear you.
I was just going to say that I think for medical, that I'd have to double check, but there may be you can prorate the exclusion for primary residence. Mike, if he told you, probably checked.
That's what he said. Yeah. So let's explain that. Okay. So when you have capital gains, that comes to another capital gains issue. When you're a single person and you're selling a house that was your homestead, and the definition of homestead, one of the definitions is living in the house 2 of the last 5 years, not necessarily consecutive, but 2 of the last 5 years you've lived there, right?
As your primary, as your
primary residence. If you have done that, you can get $250,000 profit from the home as a single person and not pay tax capital gains on it. And if you're a married couple, you can make up to $500,000 and not pay capital gains.
You can have a gain of 500,000 and pay no tax on it. Correct. No
right, but I think a lot of people do this. Hey, I owe 200,000. I'm selling my house for 550. I'm making it up. Okay, I'm selling my house for 550. And after the smoke clears, I'm getting a check for 300,000 in my pocket. Right. That's not profit, though, right? That's just your gross money you get.
It depends. That all depends on if you have a loan, like what's in escrow, like all this other stuff. That's not.
So
if you have no loan on the house and no escrow, that might be somewhat right, because it takes off your real estate commissions as well. But that's really, the closing costs get included, but those are typically, the real estate commissions and some doc stamp fees, or adjustments, and maybe an appraisal cost, things like that.
So you can take those off as costs on the profit, if you will. So you're paying less taxes. Now, what about like improvements on the home of your primary residence over time?
Yeah. So the typical, calculation is, sales price less closing costs, less cost basis of the property gives you your gain or loss. Your cost basis is what you paid for the property, plus any improvements you've done over the years, like major improvements to the property. And that'll give you your cost basis to calculate your gain on the sale.
So you can improve like improvements. So if you put on a new roof or a new AC, or you updated the kitchen or the bathrooms, all that could be stripped out of the quote profit on the house, right?
Yes. That'd be added to your original cost basis.
And that's really important for people to know. A lot of people don't get that. They just think whatever the check is that they get at closing, that's what their quote capital gains are. And that isn't necessarily the capital gains. You have to do the cost basis and all that, like you said, and then strip out like traditional stuff like closing costs, real estate commissions, things like that.
Yeah. In the past, typically on a primary residence sale, the point was you normally wouldn't have to pay tax like on the sale. But with these new with the new real estate market, with this new market and how quick everything's appreciating. I just talked to a lady yesterday that was, selling a house from 1998 that she built it for $250,000. It's on the Intercoastal. She thinks she can get $5 million. She said she heard she could get an exclusion And I'm like, yeah, it's 250,000. So she was thinking she could exclude her $3.5 million gain or whatever it's going to be. So it's all relative, right? So that seems like a lot for most people, but doesn't mean if you sell your primary residence you aren't going to pay tax. So yeah, it's 250, like Jim said, or 500, and it's based on the sales price. Your costs do come off of that, so your real estate commissions, your closing costs, and then less your cost basis, which is the improvements and the cost of the property. So it can be done pro rata. If something forces you out of the house, like you were saying, Jim, if you don't meet that 2-year window, but you have to leave for military, or there's all these exceptions.
Divorce, death, disability of a borrower,
they'll prorate it.
Health issues. Yep.
They'll give you a portion of the gain. So instead of getting the 250, maybe they get 200,000 as an exclusion. Right. And basically or X amount of the gain is taxable. The percentage of the gain is taxable, whichever way it is. But you get a pro rata share based on how close to that 2-year period you were.
Now, how much is the capital gain? So let's say, remember that person that bought the Zillow home, and now he thinks he can sell it for 100,000 more. So let's just say that he nets, after paying for the house, the closing costs, everything, all those costs, because let's say he didn't put anything into it because he's only owned it for a year or so. And let's say that he sells it and he really nets 100,000. How much capital gains is he going to pay on that?
How much money does he make a year?
That's what it depends on, right? Is the income, right? That's why I was asking you that.
Yeah, so there's different capital gains rates. There's even a 0% rate. So a lot of this is why they're trying to repeal the capital gains tax, because this is where they say it's a rich tax break, and it's typically capital gains come from the sale of an appreciated property, whether it's a stock or a piece of real estate. And so people with that type of income are typically people that have a decent amount of income to invest and do those type of things. So capital gain rates are anywhere from 0 to 20%. Our ordinary rates go up to 37%. So, some people can sell, they could have all capital gain income, and the max rate they're going to pay is 20%.
Because they don't
even
make
if they
that
have
much
$1 million
income.
of income.
How do you get the 0%?
No, because it's all capital gain income.
Oh, that's why. That's their only.
So if you had $5 million of capital gain income, it's all going to be taxed at, well, some of it will be taxed at 0, 10, 15, but the majority of it would be taxed at 15 and 20%. As opposed to somebody else that typically has that amount of income would be taxed at, 37 would be the top tax bracket.
If they were making $5 million a year as income. No, everybody's quiet there.
Look.
I don't know. Is 5 million the threshold? Is that?
Yeah, it got quiet.
Yeah, can you hear us? Sure.
No, the capital. Yeah, I can hear you guys.
So, like, what you're trying to say is, if somebody was making his income $5 million a year, they might pay 37% in income tax. But if it was capital gains, and let's say they only made $20,000 a year in income, but $5 million in capital gains, they might only pay a small portion because they're only making $20,000 a year in income. No, I got that wrong. Jarrett's giving me a face.
No, I think you're right. It was just breaking up. So basically, the capital gains tax, your income, if it's all from capital gains, the highest the tax rate would get is 20%.
I see. If it was just
it would never go over 20%.
I see.
How do you get
if it's
0%?
Just capital gains? And that's
how do you get 0%, Jarrett? How does that work out?
Because the first 15,000 or so of capital gain income is at 0%. I can't remember what dollar. Maybe it's 20,000. So the first portion of it would be at 0%, and then the next part would be, I think it's 10, and then it goes to 15. So it's based on how much
Okay.
it's graduated.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just like our income tax system, but it caps out at 20%, and that's why they want to repeal it, is because these guys are just getting qualified dividends and capital gains and keeping their tax rate at 18% or 20% instead of 37 like other people have to pay from working for the money.
So they want to try to, more than anything, just be able to close the loopholes. So if you're savvy, you can find your way to pay as little taxes as possible, which is what savvy people do. I mean, nobody wants to pay more taxes than they have to.
No, and that's real estate's one of the ways that people like Trump and these big guys are paying less in taxes. That's why they don't want to show their tax returns, because they are going to see that they made millions of dollars and paid a lower rate overall.
Yeah.
So
I kind of want to just talk one last thing about the market and the market changes, which is the foreclosure rates. I've been reading a couple articles lately about how the foreclosure rate, like here's a perfect example. I got an article here from Atom, ATTOM, which is basically an industry think tank for the real estate market in general, commercial and residential. And here's an article from April 21st where they say that the foreclosure rate is up 39% this quarter compared to a year ago this quarter, and 132% compared to a year ago today. Right? Now that sounds pretty bad, right? Foreclosure rate up 132% from 1 year ago, right?
Yeah.
Now, and everybody goes, uh-oh, here it comes. Here comes the wave of foreclosures. No, that's not what's happening, guys. Yeah, when you got to remember during COVID, you weren't allowed to foreclose. So there were basically no foreclosures, right?
There were no foreclosures.
So if you go from 0 foreclosures filed to 1 foreclosure filed, right? That's infinity to percent increase, right? Isn't that true? That's like an infinity percent increase, right? Because you went from 0 to 1, right? And
zero.
Yeah, exactly, right. So when you look at these numbers about the percentage of increase, don't let that sway your opinion of what's happening in the market. If you're like, oh, here it comes, this is a bellwether sign that the market's crashing, or here it comes, here's the market crash. Don't believe that. There's only, in March, there were only 33,000 foreclosure filings in March across the whole country.
Yeah.
Right. Across the whole country, the whole United States, of over 6 million single family homes, 33,000 filed in foreclosure. Right now in the foreclosure market for the first quarter, that was just March. The first quarter, which includes March, was 78,000 total for the 3 months. Okay. Wow. We used to have thousands right here in Palm Beach County. And if you counted Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, forget about it. We'd have more than 33,000 foreclosures just here during the crisis, just the 3 counties. Wow. Okay. So don't believe that these foreclosure things is going to be the savior for inventory. Like that's going to increase our inventory right now. That's not happening right now. I want to almost say, unfortunately, but I also don't want anybody foreclose on. So that's actually a good thing that people aren't foreclosing. And that just shows you the health of the people that are paying their mortgages right now. Nobody's missing the payments. And most of these people that are behind that are being filed on, they're the ones that didn't make the mortgage payments during COVID, and then they never recovered from it. And now they're too far behind, and things are starting to run over them, and the mortgage companies aren't working with them very well. We are getting some people calling us that are in trouble with their mortgages. If you're in trouble, just because it's very rare right now, that doesn't mean when you're in trouble, you don't need help. You need help, whether there's 1 foreclosure filing or 1 million, you still need help personally if you're in trouble. So all you got to do is pick up the phone and give us a call, and we're here for you.
Well, and that's a scenario too, Jim. You got to be very proactive. Don't be reactive.
Yes.
You get ahead of it. Talk to pros that can give you options. If you go to someone that only does bankruptcies, you know what they're going to tell you? Like, well, bankruptcy is your only option, your best option, because that's all they do. If you go to floridatalkrealestate.com, you can work with pros that will give you options. What's going to be best for you and your family for your future? And right now, it might not be that pertinent, but you might be slipping down that slide. and the traction might be hard to get. If you get ahead of it, your outcome can be a little bit better. Burying your head in the sand is always the worst case scenario. So get the information you need and be armed with that information. Be in a powerful position. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. I mean, that's just the brass tacks, right, Jimmy D?
Yep, that's it. And we're here for you 24/7, 888-973-7828, 24/7 live service. Just leave your information. We call you right back.
That's it. You'll find that hotline, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. Access to the entire team. It is your pros. You find them, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. On Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate, and YouTube as well, Florida Talk Real Estate, LLC. I'd like to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And if you got moms in your life, you're lucky. And embrace them. Enjoy them. Call them. Hang with them. At least send a card. If you haven't gotten a card yet, you are screwed. Take care of your moms for sure. All the moms in your life. They are amazing. If they're even half the mom that my wife is, man, those are damn good moms. So thank you, ladies, all of you that put the effort in every day. So much of it goes unappreciated too, but trust me, I appreciate you. Jarrett Perry, have a great weekend.
Yeah, Johnny C, have a great one. I don't know how I can follow that Mother's Day. My if they're half as good as my wife, they're unbelievable as well. Happy Mother's Day to you.
Yeah,
have a
well
great
said,
weekend.
my friend. Nice to see you as always, Jimmy D. Enjoy your weekend, and always good to have you with us, my friend.
Thank you. I'm very blessed. I'll be seeing my mom tomorrow. So see you tomorrow, Mom. Love you.
That's what I'm talking about. We are blessed to have our moms in our lives, so take care of them. And stick around. You got the locker room. It's Kentucky Derby Day, y'all, so it's going to be all jacked up. Greek's ready to get some horse action going. Joe and Jimothy, they're going to take you for the next handful of hours, a little radio magic. Of course, we're back at it next Saturday, 9 to 11. It's 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday, Florida Talk Real Estate, right here on Real Radio.